The flying carpet received a warm welcome in the early 13th century, when the Prince of Turanian used them to attack an enemy castle, by setting up a squad of archers to fly on the flying carpet, like air cavalry. In 1213, Prince Behrouz of Khorasan state, in eastern Persia, secretly loved a young Jewish girl, the muse Ashira. In particular, Ashira's father was a man who made the flying carpet. Prince Behrouz's marriage to Ashira was strongly opposed by members of the royal family. To prove his right choice, Prince Behrouz asked his father-in-law to weave 20 flying carpets, using the finest refined wool and clay fibers. At the same time, it is necessary to reinforce the flying carpet on a bamboo frame to make them stronger. When the carpets were delivered, Prince Behrouz set up 40 archers carefully trained by Japanese master Ryutaro Koike. Each archer is provided with 2 pointed steel arrows with snake venom, Armenian dagger and ligament to prevent falling. For every 2 archers assigned to a carpet, a person sits in front of a person in the back. Some people brought fireballs. Thus, Prince Behrouz formed the first 4 air cavalry squadrons in the world and went into operation. When his father waged a war against neighboring Khwarezm Shah, the archers on the flying carpet lead the attack. They attacked the castle, rushed in and flew out like a place without people. The poison arrows defeated the guards. At the same time, the soldiers threw the fireball inside, engulfed the castle in the flamed sea. An attack on a medieval stronghold is inherently extremely difficult. And this time, with the support of the air cavalry squadrons, Prince Behrouz's army won a resounding victory. At the same time, Prince Behrouz also proved his wise choice, and was accepted by the king father of the marriage. Gentlemen and dear friends, you must be thinking that the above story lies in a treasure trove of fairy tales, myths in the Middle East. Quite like the episode in the movie Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, produced by Walt Disney in 1992. Originally a fictional production of the famous story, The 1001 Nights. But no, the above story is probably a fact that happened in history. This was evidenced when a French explorer named Henri Baq discovered carefully preserved scrolls, in the cellar of the Assassin Castle, in Alamut near the Caspian Sea. The scrolls were written in the early 13th century by a Jewish scholar named Isaac Ben Sherira, contributed to unravel the real story behind flying carpets. They not only exist in the fairy world but actually appear in history. The secret of the flying carpet was revealed. In Chronicles Ben Sherira there are some passages that describe how flying carpets work. Accordingly, the only difference between the ordinary carpets and the flying carpets is the properties of the fabrics. Artisans of that time discovered a special clay with a very strong magnetism. They are taken from high mountain streams. Never been affected by human hands. After the clay is brought back, the artisans refine again at a very high temperature, which is described as beyond the 7th floor of hell. To eliminate anti-magnetic properties, causes the clay's magnetism to be many times stronger. The refined clay will be pulverized, and dyed into the wool fibers, then woven into carpets. Thus, the flying carpets are actually carpets woven from thousands of threads of wool with very strong magnetism. The Earth itself is like a giant magnet, with billions and billions of magnetism going from the North Pole to the South Pole. As a result, when finished weaving, the flying carpet will be pushed by the Earth's magnetic field and suspended in the air. Thrust along the magnetic lines. Works like aerial rails. Depending on the amount of refined clay used more or less, the carpet will hover a few meters or up several tens of meters above the ground. The use of flying carpets. Ladies and gentlemen, carpets can fly up and down, and are an extremely useful means of transport. So for what purposes did the ancients use them? Let's list a few effects of flying carpets, according to scholar Ben Sherira's notes. Scholar Ben Sherira writes that the Great Library of Alexandria, founded by Ptolemy I, has a large number of flying carpets to cater to its readers. They can borrow these carpets to glide back and forth, up and down between handwritten bookshelves. The Alexandria Library is housed in a ziggurat. It is the ancient construction of the Mesopotamian Sumerians. Quite similar to the Egyptian pyramids. But the main material for construction is mud brick. The ceiling of this library is so high that each reader usually likes to read while sitting on a flying carpet, suspended in the air. In the library that contains 40,000 scrolls of documents. The number of documents was so great that it was said that there were even 1,000 people reading them around the clock for 50 years to be able to read them all. Though the library was damaged during the civil war under the Aurelian emperor. Its final destruction was due to an Islamic general. This person burned the papyrus piles to set fire to Alexandria's library, at the same time, threw the flying carpets into the sea. Trade and business. As flying carpets became popular, merchants also began to see their advantages. Safe and travel much faster than camels. This development prompted artisans to begin weaving larger carpets. But the increase in payload also causes the carpet to become sluggish, and reduce the altitude when flying. This requires artisans to figure out tips for making carpets fly faster. This fact is attested in texts written in the 18th century. Many people on the ground have seen a group of men standing on flying carpet from Samarkand to Isfahan at a whirlwind speed. Love gift of the Queen of Sheba. The out-of-purpose flying carpets are used to serve readers in the library of the Great Alexandria. Used as a weapon to attack the enemy, or to trade. One more use as a gift. According to the manuscript of Ben Sherira recorded a story related to the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. King Solomon is a historical figure in ancient Jewish records. Wisdom, wealth, and the king's peak development dynasty have been revered by the Jews as a legend. The king has a lover, the Queen of Sheba, who is very passionate about alchemy. She brought to the palace top intellectuals and craftsmen, to facilitate them to invent exotic items. At the coronation of the queen in 977 BC, one of her royal craftsmen offered a small brown carpet. It can fly up from the ground up to nearly a meter. The queen and the servants in the palace enjoyed this invention. They wonder if people can sit on this carpet, and ask the artist to continue to find ways to improve this treasure even more. Years later, the artist finally succeeded in placing man on the carpet he invented. When the queen confirmed the good news, she immediately ordered a magic carpet of blue silk, embroidered with gold and silver and precious stones, and sent it to King Solomon as a gift of love. But when the carpet was delivered while this king of Solomon was too busy building the Temple of Jerusalem, the most important monument in legend about Solomon, he did not accept the gift directly, but instead gave it to one of his courtiers. When the news of the cold reception reached the Queen of Sheba, it hurt her very much. She chased away all of her artisans. And never mind flying carpets again. Sheba artisans have been wandering around for many years. Some have wandered into the Middle East. They settled near the town of Baghdad in Mesopotamia, circa 934 BC. They hold a portion of knowledge about creating a flying carpet, but do not have enough resources. So only low-quality floating carpets can be created. However, it still caused curiosity with the popular people at that time. This is also considered the most authentic story to mention the invention origin of the flying carpet. The mysterious disappearance. Such extremely useful flying carpets. But why did they mysteriously disappear in history? Information in the manuscripts of Ben Sherira indicated that the Muslim rulers often see flying carpets as offensive objects, inspired by the devil. Their existence is denied, their science suppressed. The people who produced them were persecuted, and any evidence relating to them has been systematically removed. However, the exact cause of the disappearance of the flying carpets is its convenience that causes the ruling class to suffer economic loss. Back then, horses and camels were the standard means of transport. Some Arab families, closely related to the ruling world, became wealthy on large cattle ranches, delivering hundreds of thousands of horses and camels each year to armies, merchants, and the upper class. Some of the clans listed on Ben Sherira's manuscript include Hatimis, Zahidis, and descendants of Abu Hanifa too. They owned huge camel farms, and enjoyed a complete monopoly on camel supply throughout the Muslim Empire. None of these clans wanted their prerogatives to be taken away by a small group of poor artisans who make flying carpets. So the newly developed flying carpets were pinched and isolated by them, assigned with demonic symbols. This caused the flying carpets to gradually be stigmatized, being shunned by all walks of life in Muslim society. In addition to the above reason, in the manuscript of Ben Sherira, there is a story that caused the flying carpets to be determined by the authorities to destroy. The story goes that there was a soldier named Mustafa who served in the royal palace. He did a very taboo thing at that time, was to love the youngest princess of the King of Islam. During a date, the two had exposed their love story. When news of this incident reached the king's ears, he became extremely angry and locked the youngest princess in a tower. And Mustafa was kicked out of the palace, in a humiliating way. Devastated for his lover who was imprisoned in the castle, Mustafa tried everything to save the girl he loved, but he was powerless. In a moment of desperation, luckily, he is shown by an old man how to use the flying carpet. On a bright Friday afternoon in Baghdad, the markets bustle with buyers of fruits and fabrics. A few slave auctions. Suddenly appeared a man was flying very fast on a flying carpet, towards the highest tower of the royal palace. Mustafa is back. Using his flying carpet, he easily passed all the guard posts. Surfed to the tower, where the youngest princess is kept, help her climb out the window. The two men sat on the carpet and glided away in front of the shock of the guards and the cheering of the people. The musketeers quickly chased after them, but the flying carpet disappeared in the clouds above. The story was reported to the king, making him extremely angry, and ordered the royal soldiers to take revenge by hunting and killing all those involved in the production and trading of flying carpets. Only a few artisans kept their lives and escaped to Iran. Later, the technology of making flying mats suffered one more tribulation. In 1226 Genghis Khan invaded most of the cities of Central Asia. Many people were murdered, including artisans who made flying carpets. In the pile of loot, the Mongols also found quite a few flying carpets. But when a prisoner told the Mongolian king, "These things are faster than your horse," then he thought it was blasphemy. So the great Khan ordered all flying mats in his vast empire to be confiscated and destroyed. Up to this point, in order to preserve lives for themselves and their families, the artisans have decided to remain anonymous, and not weave any more flying carpets. Through many lifetimes, the flying carpets gradually fade away and disappear in history. In the end, it remains only in the fairy tales, folk myths that we know today. Ladies and gentlemen, in fairy tales, flying carpets are called extremely precious treasures. In history, they did not expect them to have such a tragic fate. Through this, we also greatly admire the wisdom of the ancient people, who took advantage of the Earth's magnetic field to create an eternal motive. What people today have yet to do. Thus, it can be said that the science and technology of the ancients were not necessarily lower than ours. It is just that we are not fully aware of it. In today's modern world, many ancient knowledge is still in secret, causing many scientists to give up in decoding. Affordable, the secret of the flying carpets is also among them. If you find this story interesting, please like, comment and spread it to your relatives and friends. Hello and see you in the next videos.